Hey everyone, welcome back to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This is a show all about farmers markets and how to increase your market business success. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a farmer or food producer selling at farmers markets, this is the podcast for you. I'm Bridget Myers, one of your Tent Talk podcast hosts. The Farmers Market Pros team just wrapped up the 2020 edition of Intense, the Farmers Market Conference, and we're still basking in the glow that's created when market people gather. We'll be sharing just a little of the conference content via Tent Talk live recordings of some of our speakers, including this talk by Sarah Marshall, co-owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce, that's Haute, and host of the Meaningful Marketplace podcast. She's a master at building community inside Portland, Oregon farmers markets and out in the greater food system that surrounds them. Let's hear how she does it.
Hi, everybody. I know everybody's been through a lot of information, so I'm pretty good at talking fast. I do these news segments you'll see later, so I can fit a lot of information into a short amount of time. So I'm just going to talk to you about connecting with your community. So I was a social worker before I made sauces and did cooking and all of these things. That's what I went to school for. I taught families how to create family values. A lot of them were coming out of the prison system. So that's what I did for a long time. But then I started teaching families how to cook together, and I loved it. And I started picking up produce from the farmer's market, and I loved them. And so I just wanted to create a life around that. So I quit my job and I started my business, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to it, but that was in 2011. So I'm going into my 9th year, and I never went back to social work. So I did it, and here I am. My process, just because I like people to be able to access me later, so I am open for you to communicate with. If I can give you any advice, if I can give you any forms, anything, I will give that to you. So feel free to contact me. So I'd just like to tell people a little bit about my process. So I started in my home kitchen, and then I shared a kitchen with a bunch of people, kind of like those shared kitchen spaces that you saw. And then I built a kitchen into my house. So I've been there for the last couple of years. So if you have any questions about any of those things, feel free to reach out to me, and I can answer those. And then my inspiration, that's my fam there. So our family motto, food is love. My parents were old hippies from South San Francisco. We always canned, we always grew a garden, all of those things. My mom started a community garden at the hospital that she worked at. We harvest food for people in the community there. My daughter's the youngest volunteer, and my dad is the oldest. So when I was doing all that stuff with the farmers markets, I was realizing that when I started to be a social worker, I wanted to connect with my community. That's not really what happens when you're a social worker. You're mostly like in court systems and in prison systems, and you don't really get to be around that many people. So I created my business like based on being around the farmers market, doing things with the community, and that has really brought me all of this joy and a connection to my community, which is what I was looking for. So that's what I want to encourage all of you to do today, because everybody can do that. So, one-on-one interactions kind of trending down. We all have our phones, we have our earbuds, all of those kinds of things. So I kind of created this micro movement, I like to say, where we have face-to-face interaction, and that a lot of that can really happen at the farmers market. So we can talk to each other as vendors, we can talk to each other as market managers. I think everybody gets like a little bit caught up in these other worlds, and then we're just a little bit disconnected. And I think the farmers market is the best place for us to connect as a community. So I want everyone to join me in that and bring the people to the market. So I'm going to tell you some ways to do that. So I always think of the farmers market as a wheel. So the hub of that wheel is the farmers and the ranchers. So they're the reason that we are gathering. That's why we have the farmers market. And we all need to help to support that hub of the wheel. So the spokes are all the people that come to the market. So the chefs, the musicians, the artisans, the market staff, entertainers, all of those people. But the key thing that I think sometimes we forget about is that a lot of like writers and reporters are at that market too, and they're part of that journey. So I was really glad that Kat was on before me, because she's an important part of this. So I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. But then the rim of the farmers market is the farmers market organization. So all of us together make up this wheel, and we can do a lot of things. But I'm going to tell you at the end of the presentation is that there's a really great way to take the wheel on the road. So take it outside of the farmers market. So how do we support the wheel? We have to have a collective mission. So I've given a lot of talks before about missions and values and things like that. I think it's so important. If anybody needs help writing a mission for their business, I'm really good at it. So reach out to me and I will help you with it. But I think that our collective mission, all of us together, is if it's to connect with one another at the market, then we are creating this greater community outside of the market. But I think it starts there. So if everybody makes that their mission, I think we can all have success inside the market and outside of it. So some steps to supporting that mission, and what I'm going to tell you about today, is to bring people to the market. So I think that it's all of our jobs to bring people to the market. As vendors, as market managers, as farmers, everybody, I think we all need to bring people there. And then the second step is to walk the market, and that's where we can really connect. And then the third step is to take it on the road. So I'll give you some examples of how I do that. So bringing people to the market is the first one. So if we collectively work together to bring those people come and they connect with us. So we're also connecting with our community, but then they're also helping to support that hub, those ranchers and farmers. And then the farmers markets are going to continue to be successful. If I had a tagline, it would be meet me at the market. So anytime anybody asks me to do anything or asks me to meet up with them, asks me to hop on a call, I say, meet me at the market. So a way to bring people is that you can have meetings there. Like I said, there's always trucking companies that want me to do their service, their local delivery drivers, people like that. I always say, well, why don't you come to the market and we'll talk about it. So I am bringing all of these people to the market so that they can help to support the other people there. Anytime I have a skill to offer, if I'm like, I really want to teach people how to use the carrot tops from their carrots, and it's going to help the farmers, can I come do a demo at the market? And the market managers are always really into that. Anytime somebody wants to have a play date with my daughter, that's her and her buddy Ethan there, I say, come have the play date at the market with me. And then we're bringing families to the market, and then I can introduce those kids and families to some of our farmers. Also, school field trips, if you have a kid in school and you suggest that they do a weekly market to come and visit, then those kids go home and tell their parents, and then their parents bring them back to the market. So it's a really good way to bring people there. I think bringing chefs to the market is really important and really easy. So the chefs are often there at our market in the morning. They're the first people to get there. They're picking up produce orders. But what I want to encourage farmers and vendors to do is to connect with those chefs. So we have done so many projects with chefs in our community. I've made sauces for them. I've done workshops. I've hosted events, all kinds of things. But I meet them at the market. So you can kind of tell when a chef is at the market. Sometimes they wear chef pants or chef aprons, but they always have a list, and they're walking around and they're there early. And then I just say to them, what are you looking for? Because I probably know if it's here or not. And so I become the expert of what's going on at the market. So then the chefs come to me now and they'll say, hey, have you seen fava beans anywhere? And I'm like, oh yeah, they have them up at Groundworks. And then I'm on their mind. So I can connect with them outside of the market too, because they'll be like, oh, hey, thanks for helping me find that dish. It really completed what I was doing. And so I'm bringing people also then to their restaurants, because I'll say, if somebody's coming and saying, oh, do you have any good recommendations for places to eat? I can then tell the chefs, I'm connecting people to your restaurant. I just sent 3 people there. And so it's a way we're meeting at the market, but I'm also continuing to send people to their places outside of the market. Bring media to the market. So I was a little disappointed because when I saw that Kat was wanting people to pitch to them, I wanted to stand up in the back of the room and say, if anybody even thought about doing it, do it right now, because media is the greatest outreach for our business. So if I have something that I want to say, I can't always reach the people, but media really is the way to reach the people. So if you don't know how to write a press release or you don't know how to pitch an article, you can just Google it. If you want to ask me, I can help you do it. But I don't have any PR companies or people, but I end up in a lot of magazines and on TV and stuff like that. And every time I do, people buy our sauce, people hire me to do things. It's one of the biggest money generators for our business, is really this connection to media. And I don't just know anybody. I mean, Kat found me because I was connected to my salt guy. So, it's not always that I'm actually pitching the thing, but I do have these relationships and these stories that I'm always talking about. So, the biggest value of my business is to support other businesses. So I'm buying from my farmers that are at the stand with me, from the salt maker that's at the farmer's market with me, and then I'm telling everybody about that. So I pitch these stories a lot of times to media. So our local news station has a show called Afternoon Live, and I pitch to them, hey, can I come on and talk about what's going on at the market? Because everyone is saying that, outside of berry season, it's really slow for them. And I think I can bring some people to the market. So the producer of the show said, yeah, you can come on and do it. So I did one episode, and then she said, hey, why don't we do this every month? Why don't you come on every month and talk about what's at the market? Because you're buying, and I do a little bit of a cooking demo sometimes too. Because you're buying supplies, you can also talk about your sauce. Normally people have to pay for that, but because I was making it not just about me, I was making it about my whole community, then I get to do it for free, and I get to do it every single month. So I was going to show you the quick video. This was an article I pitched to Portland Monthly, which is like our monthly food magazine. And I kind of did the same thing where I was like, we have all these really awesome new food vendors and nobody knows about them. Can I pitch you this article, walk the market with you, and show you these great people? So we had like our first saffron grower. There's a saffron grower in Washington. Nobody knew about them. I wanted everybody to know about them. So I pitched this article and, took the writer around to introduce them. That we also had a new nut milk vendor. And we also had a milk vendor, which we hadn't had a milk vendor in the whole time I'd been at the market. So I wanted everyone to know. So the writer wrote this article, and everyone came to their booths because Portland Monthly is everybody reads it and you get weekly updates. They have a big following. So I don't have that big a following, but the Portland Monthly did. So then everybody that was new to the market was so thankful of that, and they kind of started doing it for each other. So everybody started kind of lifting each other up. So I'm going to show you the video of the news show that I very first pitched. I think it'll just start playing.
Welcome back to Afternoon Live. The days are heating up. Well, maybe not today, but they are, I promise. And it's a perfect time to visit your favorite farmer's market. Here with a look at what's popping up, we welcome back the author of Preservation Pantry, Sarah Marshall's here.
Hi.
With her signature red lip. How are you?
I'm super good. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you, too. So the farmer's market is popping, huh?
Yeah, it is. We've just started to get so much more stuff this week. So as soon as berries come in, we start to get busy. So I wanted to talk about some things that are at the market that aren't just berries, because those bring everybody.
Right.
But there's all these other cool things that sometimes people don't know what to do with.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you about them.
Please do, because when I go, sometimes I find often all sorts of other things that don't involve food.
Yeah,
There's all kinds of stuff at the
today
farmer's
I brought
market.
only food things.
Okay, good.
So one thing I brought is fava beans. So these are not available in grocery stores. You really have to get them at the market. These ones came from Groundwork Organics. So fava beans are pretty interesting because they take a lot of prep work, but they're really delicious. Have you ever made them?
No.
So they come in these kind of strange pods, and then you peel them open.
It's huge.
I know, they're so big, and they're kind of like furry inside. So, usually I come here and I tell you to eat everything from your produce.
Yes.
These, you can only eat them when they're very small and tender. Otherwise, they're kind of tough, so you wouldn't want to eat that.
Okay.
And then you have to go inside of this, and there's another pod inside of it. So it's like double peeling.
What is that? What is that? Is it the tea set? Is it a Russian tea set? Like you go,
yeah,
go in
it's
and
like
you go
the
in
Russian
and you gotta get
dolls.
something.
Yep,
Oh
that's
my
exactly
gosh.
what fava beans are like. But they're really, really good, and they're really tasty. So those are in season right now. They'll only be around for another week or so.
And how do you cook them?
You just
like you
blanch
would
them
any-
really quick.
Okay.
You can just do 30 seconds in hot water.
Wow.
But they're really fun and delicious.
Wow,
And then
okay.
the other thing I wanted to bring is rhubarb, because rhubarb, I think it's in season right now. It's another really interesting one, because normally I would tell you to eat all the leafy green.
Yes.
But with rhubarb, I like them when they're at the market, because you see them sticking out of people's grocery bags, and they kind of look like little duck feet, sticking out of everyone's sports bags, but you don't want to eat those.
Oh.
So rhubarb, the greens carry this acid that's really hard for us to digest, and it can be really dangerous to eat. So you just want to make sure to cut that off. I've heard horror stories of people putting it into smoothies and things like that. Don't do that with these.
Okay.
But once you take that off, you can, I just sauteed this rhubarb. People always think about like strawberry rhubarb pie or strawberry rhubarb jam, but I like to introduce it as more of a savory thing. So I just sauteed it with a little sherry vinegar, some salt, a little bit of sugar, or even apple juice, because it's very bitter. I don't know if you've ever tried it.
I have, but not
very
this way.
Tangy. It's interesting, but then you leave it so it has a little bit of texture still. So it adds like a nice tang to your food. By the way, isn't that fun? You feel it back there. That's the sherry vinegar.
It's good, but
yeah. So it's really nice when it's paired with a bunch of other things. And then spring right now coming up too. So these are pea tendrils. So this is a part of where we have pea pods. You can eat this. You would want to eat that. It's delicious.
Just like this?
Yeah, you can just eat it. Okay. It's just the pea tendril. You would eat just this little green. So it's nice and fresh tasting.
Yeah, totally.
So you can really use it to garnish your dishes. And then edible flowers are around at the market right now.
Oh, my daughter's going to love you.
Right? So
she just came up on edible flowers.
It's a really nice way to get kids, especially my daughter loves it too. She loves to have little flowers on her food. It makes it fun. They're pretty.
Yes.
You can buy them from the market stand so you know which flowers you're supposed to eat and which ones you're not.
So thank you for saying that, because once she discovered that flowers could be edible, she thought she could eat any flower that she sees. And I'm like, no.
So it's really nice to go to the farmer's market, and the flowers that they have there obviously are going to be edible, so you can eat them, so you don't have to worry about if you're not eating ones. And then one thing that people don't really think about is grains at the farmer's market. So a lot of the farmers will do different kinds of grains, different kinds of beans. You can buy popcorn. You can buy all that stuff from your local farmer instead of getting it at the grocery store. And it's a lot fresher. It tastes a lot better. So these ones came from Lonesome Whistle. They also do them at Sungold Farms, but you can find all that stuff local. And then we have a new hot sauce that just came out that we made with Ataula, a Spanish restaurant. So it's a Bravas sauce. So it's kind of like a smoky Spanish ketchup. So we use smoked paprika.
Really?
We use local apples, onions, and that will be at the farmer's market on Saturday.
You have all of these available amongst all of the other hot sauces.
Yes. And so then you can take all of these things and put it together. So this is just a nice fresh grain bowl. So I used those local grains. I used our hot sauce. I sauteed the rhubarb, did the fava beans, and then it's just so beautiful and fresh. And you could really only get these things from the farmer's market in the spring.
Clearly, and it just looks, I mean, you almost don't want to eat it.
I know, right?
It looks like artwork, but I'm going to have a bite. Pass me that fork. Let me see. I'm going to try and make sure I get a little bit of everything. Got the hot sauce, where I got to get a little flour action. Did I miss anything? Oh, no. Did I miss anything?
I think you got it all.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's see. Wow.
It's so much flavor in one bowl, right?
I don't even know what tastes like what. I do know this hot sauce is really good, and it's not.
Thank you.
It's not too hot.
No, not spicy at all. It's so potatoes bravas is a Spanish dish. It's served with fried potatoes and this sauce. It's not spicy, but it just adds a lot of flavor. Yeah, it's a smoked Spanish paprika.
This is really good.
Thank you.
I want another flower.
Yeah.
Make my daughter jealous.
I know.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
Oh my gosh! And so the farmers market is obviously the place to be.
Yes, Saturday we'll be there tomorrow from 8:30 to 2 at PSU.
Awesome! I love it over there. Thank you so much.
I know. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Have a great weekend.
Thank
All right,
you.
we're going to have more information about Sarah and her book, Preservation Pantry, for you on our website at KATU.com. Coming up next, we're going to talk the earth-friendly power of the butterfly.
So, with that, thanks. So I do those segments every month now. I talk about what's at the market. I involve all different people. My farm buddies at the farm stands know that. And so my farmer friend Marvin, I think you'll see a picture of him later, is always like, are you bringing me on the news? And it's like, it's become this thing that it's a little confusing because people think I work for the farmer's market a lot of times, and I don't. But I just want everyone to come and support all of us there and support all of our farmers. So those were all my first steps of that. Collectively, we can bring everybody to the market. The second thing that I would like all of us to do if we're part of the farmer's market is to walk the market. So I talked about this a little bit last year, but I talk about it all the time. So we come and we set up our booth early at the market, my husband and I, that's Dirk. And we get set up early, and then we walk around and we talk to everybody. We talk to every vendor. And if you guys have ever been to the Portland Farmers Market, there's a lot of vendors. I mean, 100 maybe. I'm not even really sure. But we talk to all of them, even the grumpy ones. And I would say especially the grumpy ones. I try to win them over, and I'm like, I'm going to make them love me, is what I always tell Dirk. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But it doesn't bother me either way. But we talk to the vendors. We buy stuff from our pals. We see what's new. And then we try to promote everybody. And it's how we make our strongest connections to the people that are working, but also the market staff, because I feel like the market staff is very important in our journey. But before we walked the market, we didn't really talk to them much. The market managers, they were always in the booth and we were always in our booth. And this is our time to really do that so we can collectively support the market. And then it's also where we connect to those chefs. So if I'm walking around and I see a chef shopping for something, I'm like, ooh, what are you going to make? Because I'm going to tell people about it. And then we can build those relationships together at the market. When we walk the market, this is my friend Matthew. He makes all these really cool things that he sells at the market. This is his elderflower cordial. He'll only make like 12 bottles of this, whatever it is that he's making. So in those mornings, I walk the market and I take a picture and I post about it and I tell everybody to come get it. And then they do, because they're like waiting and watching for what my market item is every week. Because it's not just products. Like, sometimes I'll be like, they only have, we don't have citrus in Oregon, except for maybe 2 farms have like tiny lime trees or tiny lemon trees. So when we do, I'll be like, Groundwork Organics has 10 lemons, and then everyone will come get them because it's like, it's early in the morning and everybody kind of lines up at our markets to buy stuff. But what that has done is it's created this really strong connection to our people. So our farmers know that we're going to do that. They get excited about us doing it. Our customers get excited about it. It brings our customers that follow us to our booth to be like, I saw you posted about, so-and-so's jam. So thank you for telling me that. I'm going to go buy it. So it just like keeps us all connected together. That's Marvin. He wears whatever's in season. He wears a T-shirt of whatever it is. But so that's his. Whenever he wears his pepper shirt, he comes and gets his picture taken with me every year. It's like our routine. But so Marvin doesn't have an Instagram. They don't have a website. He doesn't go on the news. But he gets so excited when I take him on the news. He's the one that says that. Are you taking me on the news? And he loves it, and he loves for me to do that. And we're connected because of that. And just that support, like, it makes me, every week I want to see him and see what he has. Especially he grows a lot of corn. So, our corn season in Portland's like 2 weeks. So when he has it, I tell everyone about it. But the other thing that I do is I have a canning club. So my canning club is just a group of people. I started a Facebook group. They all come over. We can together. We trade items. But the key to how I get that canning club to support our farmers is that I send out on Facebook. I'll be like, hey, everybody, Marvin has tons of green beans. He'll give you a deal if you buy a whole box, because he tells me what he has a lot of. And then my canning club people will come to him and buy a box at the farmer's market, which he gets very excited about. The other thing that we do is that we take what I call the hard winter off. So in January, or like right now, I'm not at the market. I start again in March. But I still go to the market, and I still walk the market, and I still connect with my farmers, because a lot of our farmers are doing their crop planning in January. And, they grow everything, especially for me. So if there's something that I want, I need to ask them to plant it in January. So we still go do this walking the market, even if we're not at the market. So I just wanted to put that out there. It's important for us to stay connected to the farmers market, even when we're not a vendor in it at the time. So the next thing I'm going to tell you about is taking the wheel on the road. So this is really the idea of taking the farmers market out into the community. And it's how we stay connected to everybody outside of it. So Portland has a lot of restaurants. I mean, like San Diego too, but we have a lot of cookbook authors and a lot of chefs, and they're all at the market and they all love the market. So I just kind of suggest that we do things together, and everybody's always into it. So this was at our restaurant when we made the sauce with the Taula. It's our friend's restaurant. Portland Cooks is a cookbook that Danielle Santoni wrote. It has all these chefs. So we just said, hey, let's get people to make things from the book and do this event here. We'll get stuff from the farms, and then we'll have the farmer come and be there and talk about their farm, so that we're bringing the farmer out of the market. We could only find one farmer that would come do it, because they were like, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. This is an event that happens, at 8 o'clock at night. So we found one person to do it, but it still helped us all be connected in the same place at the same time. The other way you can take the wheel on the road. So I loved the way the chefs kind of started this thing in Portland that was called maybe community over competition or something like that. They had a little hashtag. So I really liked that they were doing that. So in Portland, we have about 20 hot sauce makers. When I started, there was only Aardvark, which maybe everybody knows Aardvark. They're pretty famous. But now there's a lot. So I kind of modeled after what the chefs were doing. They were all going to each other's restaurants. They were doing all these things. So I started a group on Instagram that was all of us hot sauce makers. I invited everybody over to cook something with someone else's hot sauce with produce from the farmer's market, and we would come eat it all together. I didn't know how it was going to go, really. I was kind of like, I kind of know everybody, but not really. But it's been super amazing. So we've had the group for a year. We just did it like really easily as an Instagram group, but I would suggest even if there's a bunch of market managers in your city, you can just create a little group. And what it does for us now is that whenever any of us needs anything or has any questions or we're running into a problem maybe with something, we just message each other and we're like, hey, I am trying to get into Zupan's, which is one of our like fancy stores. Anybody have any suggestions for who I contact? Or I'm having problems shipping my glass bottles. Anybody have any ideas for that? So we became part of this group where we can really lift each other up instead of being like, oh man, I'm at the farmer's market and there's 3 other hot sauce people here and like I'm super bummed about it. So we can see each other and be like, oh hey, thanks for telling me about where you buy your boxes from or whatever it is. So it's just created this really awesome community outside of the market. So I would suggest people doing that for whatever it is that your thing is. If it's this is all of us together for that first potluck. So I had people bring their families. That's our backyard. And I just introduced everybody to each other, and now we've become this like awesome supportive group. And I just wanted to say this is a theme that runs through everything, is that it's always my goal to like create joy and support amongst people. So this sort of did that for all of us. Another way to take the wheel on the road is to bring those market customers to you. So I talk all the time about my classes. So I teach canning classes, and now I teach these plant-based cooking classes. And because what I was realizing was that there was people shopping at the markets, but they didn't always know what to do with the produce that they were buying. So I felt like it was important for me to teach them. So the cooking segments I do on the news are kind of to teach them how to do stuff with things they wouldn't know how to cook with. I'll write recipe cards for my farm neighbors like Marvin of how to cook with whatever he's having a hard time selling. He didn't know, he doesn't cook, so he didn't know to tell people, how to do something with kohlrabi or whatever. Like there's always something. And so I'll just write him a little recipe card. He'll put it at his stand. It helps him sell it. Or I'll teach classes at the farmer's market to teach people how to use the produce. But I also bring people to me. And I just want to say that I think the strongest way to build your business is to invite people into your world. So we invite everybody over. And I understand that doesn't work for everybody, but I always say if I had a second tagline, it would be come on over. So we invite people to our home every day. And I think part of it for me is that I used to work with a lot of very scary people. And so now like the general public to me is not terrifying at all. Like I figure if I invited all of you in this room over to my house, even though I don't know you, I think I'm going to be okay. So I do that. I invite people, we do these cooking classes, we do these sauce tastings. They're in our house. That's just the risk that we've decided to take, but it pays off very well for us. I would suggest that if you can do a class or you can do a farm tour or something like that, that it really is a great way for you to connect with your community outside of that. And people want it. People want to come see what you got going on. I just also wanted to say another really powerful tool that doesn't cost you any money is to write. So you don't even really have to be a good writer. If you're going to write a pitch, like Kat, when Kat was up here, it's her job to take what you're saying and turn it into something entertaining. It's the same thing when I go on the news. So Trey Renee is the host of the afternoon live show. She has to make it fun. I just have to come with something, so I don't have to design the show. Or when Kat came over, she didn't tell me what she was going to talk about because she already knew. That's what they're really good at. But all you have to do is just kind of sell yourself in a couple of sentences. So I would suggest, especially market managers, to do that with the news media, because a lot of times they'll put you on and you can bring people there and you can connect with other people. And then another way that you can take the wheel on the road is to do podcasts. So I was part of someone else's podcast, I think, when I was here last year. So then I got offered this job. It's a radio show, and then they turn it into a podcast. So it's called Meaningful Marketplace. And the cool thing about it is that my friend Sarah Massoni and I got to design how it worked. So she's a food scientist from Oregon State University. We wanted to highlight women in the food community. And it's not just women in Portland, although that's mostly who we've interviewed so far, just because that's who we know. But it has become this really powerful tool to bring business to all these new companies. So we can talk about what people are doing, and our only goal really is to bring those women business, especially when they're just starting out, because it's so important. But a lot of them are farmers market vendors. So most of the people that I have on the show are people that I do the market with, and I know their stories because I've walked the markets in the morning and talked to them, and then I can just say, hey, you have a really cool story. Can you come on the show? And we'll help to tell it. I think this is the final way I have to take the wheel on the road. So Kat actually connected me with Megan from the Palm Springs Farmers Market. So I had never been to Palm Springs before, and I was at a conference with women from all over the world, and I brought them to the farmers market. I had never had a date before, like a real date bought from the farmers market. I've had them where they're old and in a bag on a grocery store somewhere, but we don't have those in Oregon. And almost all the booths were date booths. So but there's different kinds. There's like 60 varieties of dates or something. So we got to try them all, and I found all these different really cool kinds of produce, and then, tagged all of these people. But I just want to say that that's a good way for us to connect with people outside of our farmers market community and just connect with the farmers market community as a whole. And then you kind of stay connected with those people, which is cool. The results of doing all of these things, I always say I can't fix all the problems in the world, but I can do my part to make things fun, interactive, supportive, and that's what I really strive to do, and I would like to hopefully motivate all of you to do the same. And as this wheel, we have each other to lift each other up, and I just think that we can remind each other of that. Sometimes we do get caught up in the stories of troubling vendors and stuff, but I always just try to love them the most is always my advice. So together we're part of this market community, and we can thrive with our strength of the market, and I think we can all do it together. This is Dirk and I say if you're ever in Portland, meet us at the market. You can find us on our website. You can email me. You can find me on Instagram, but just come find me and find each other. That's it.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to this edition of Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us how you're enjoying Tent Talk. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss the next episode. And if you want more farmers market tips, tricks, and information, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at farmersmarketpros.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Farmers Market Pros. This podcast is produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Thanks to Adam Samaha and Justine Marzoni Mead for being recording and editing wizards, and David Mead for your perfect original Tent Talk music. Thanks for listening.